So I took the plunge, invested, and then I think January or February of 2019, I came out here for the first time. And that's when that passion started. Like, wow, I walked in, they said, welcome home, and gave me a hard hat. And I'm like, my money's at work. Wow. I just didn't imagine that things would be going. There's construction, all the stuff that was given in the business plan was in action. And I got to see all of it. I got to see the operations. I got to see some of the training, meet the staff. So that's what got me excited to, brings me full forward that I want to be a part of this. I want to be part of this journey.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I could do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella story out of nowhere.
It's in the home. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Capital hacking begins in 3, 2, 1.
What? Welcome back to Capital Hacking. Here we are, John. Big show with Ketan.
Oh, you guys are in for some goodness today.
Yeah, I mean, for those of us who know the community that we've all been building here with a lot of people at Accountable Equity, you all know Ketan Bhavan. If you don't, he's the number 2 investor of my lifetime. Number 1 being Scott Bindis. Thank you always, Mr. Scott. But Ketan joined us so long ago that we have this kind of like a bond forever. Hundreds of investors since then. It's like he's got a special place in my heart. I've always been grateful.
And to hear his story, he was born in Johannesburg, South Africa, then moved to California, then up to Albany, New York, and now lives in California again. His family, his father was an entrepreneur, owned a business. He started working for his dad, I think as a cash register at 9 years old. So work ethic was in his DNA. Entrepreneurship was in his DNA. What an incredible show we have.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I think you'll take away a few really important lessons if you're new to the world of what we call capital hacking, where you just think differently. There's more power in investing in a community than any other way. He is going to lay out how he journeyed through going from a normal mindset on investing, which he hated. He said, I hated stocks. And then to the passion he has now because he slipped into this euphoria about the world of alternative investing. And he's done it methodically year after year after year. And wait till you hear how he looks at it and all the different, I hope a few new thoughts are shared that change the way you look at this world.
I loved how he explained how to redirect your IRA and your 401k, Josh. And you and I have done that as well. But people get a little caught up thinking that they don't have control of their IRA or their 401k when you really do. And he got involved in some fun investments.
He did. Hey, you're going to love this show. I hope you see why we care so much about this gentleman and why we want to have him in our community. And that's it. The best show you're ever going to hear. Let's get it. Welcome back to Capital Hacking. Did I make you proud, John?
Josh, you always make me proud. I am so excited for this interview.
Well, today's the day we've been talking about for a while. Ketan Bhavan. Actually, I want to say his name perfectly. It's Bevan?
Ketan Bhavan.
Bhavan. I said it all right. All right. I've always said Bhavan, but anyway. All right. So I got tripped up there today. This is an old friend showing up on the podcast. He should have been on this podcast 258 episodes ago because that's how much I love this guy.
We're excited to have you, Ketan. And what took so long, Josh?
You know what? I think at first you might not have wanted to, but then recently I put my hammer down like, I'm going to ask him when he comes out by the way, this gentleman flew all the way from the West Coast to be out here with us today in Renault Winery Resort. There's a whole backstory, Ketan. But before we get into all that, welcome to the big show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here and happy I finally made it for you, Josh.
So what our listeners don't know is before we started recording, Ketan was just dropping knowledge bombs and all kinds of alternative investing ideas and everything he's involved in. And I was kicking myself that we didn't have it recorded. So Ketan, why don't you walk us through where you were born, what brought you to this point? Give us a snapshot of your life.
Sounds good. Came to this country at age 6, born in South Africa, Johannesburg. And so our good buddy MC moved to California, Napa Valley. So as you can see with our tie-in with Renault here, grew up in the wine country and loved it. Stayed there majority of my life and went to school at USC and then moved out to the East Coast here and to Connecticut.
That's right.
and
you
lived
did.
out here for a while and got to see New Jersey and, started getting into investing with small family homes, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom houses in Albany, New
Oh
York,
my
where my
gosh.
wife is. So Clifton Park. So that kind of got me that bug into real estate. My family, the father had grocery stores in California. So, was always into at age 8, 9, I was running the cash register,
Oh, I
stocking
love
the
that.
just seeing the hard work that my dad had to go through, 13 hours a day. But being a part of that was, you're at the cash register helping out. So your customer service became very easy for me and loved talking to people. So early on, I kind of knew that my passion was, working with people. I didn't want to be behind a desk. I wanted to be out in front talking to people and doing those kinds of things. So as my career grew in consulting, kept me working a lot of long hours, traveling a lot, and not really fun. Just living out of a suitcase and working various jobs, good jobs, high paying, but you're always paying taxes. So, you got to do something along the way. So as, my career progressed, I got back to California, took some senior roles that kept me home, wanted to start a family and do some other things. Kind of have a lot of family in California, so figured I can get into the hotel business or invest in that side of the real estate aspects of things, just because being Indian, there's a lot of folks out there that have that, but never was given the opportunity. So as time progressed, I was looking at other options of investing and what to do. And a coworker of mine said, "Hey, you can invest with your self-directed IRA." And I said, "Oh, how do you do that?" So he said, "Hey, Gamma plan, you can move your money in there." And I said, "Okay, let me go through this." And as I was going through Gamma plan, I was just being someone that's eager to learn and want to take in as much as I could, was going through their education, and I ran into Josh McCowan and Renault. And I said, "Ooh, hospitality." And I went, "Wow, so I'm going to listen to this." And from that day is where my new journey started. I was mesmerized by that presentation and reached out to Josh immediately, like, "Hey, this is something I want to do. I wanted to be a part of," because just to the fact of owning a resort, being a part of something, and not given the opportunity by anybody else. That's my motivation. My culture, I love it, but they don't give you that opportunity. And when I talked to Josh, that's what resonated. He was, "Hey, let me educate you. You went through some training on syndication. Yeah, I can help you. Like come along this journey with me," and went through the whole plan. And that's kind of where I started.
You know what? I don't think we've ever had anybody on the show that did a nicer chronology with passion. Like you had like a really nice story there, because I know you from, I think we've been able to break bread maybe 10, 12 times now, maybe
Yep.
more. And we've been on the phone many times, and now we work together, we collaborate. I've always had tremendous gratitude for you. And since you brought up the fact that we met through that cam plan, I'm just going to tell my side of that story for a minute. And then we're going to jump into a couple great topics, and you're going to grab the mic anytime you want, Mr. John Edwin. So on the other side of that equation, it's 2018, in case you guys are following along.
Yep.
I did not realize you had been just introduced to the concept of buying into private alternative investments, and Camaplan gave us all a platform, and we're grateful to them. Carl Fisher will be here tomorrow. Yeah. So my side of it was, we had a few friends that were investing, a few people that had gotten to know me that were about to invest. And you found me through that webinar, and you called me. You had great questions. And I could tell the number one question was, do I trust you, Josh? Like, who are you and what's going on here? I found out years later you did a whole bunch of research and called Scott even or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is great. And back then, Scott didn't work with us. He was our new friend. And it's been a great journey, and I have a lot to share later, but I know John wants to ask a question. So, Ketan, it's a big honor. And for those of you guys who don't have a chance to watch this, we're in the same room.
Yes.
This is a live stream recording.
Oh, it's fun sitting with these guys. Sometimes when we Zoom, we all do it remotely, and that's fun too. But the energy is so much higher when we're in the same room. And interesting, you two don't know this, but I also have redirected my IRA guests through Camaplan. So there's a big plug here with Camaplan and redirected IRAs. It's a wise thing to do. So Ketan, I know you were like one of the original investors. So tell us, how many investors do you have, Josh, now?
Yeah.
How many investors is
Oh.
there here?
We'll be here this weekend. I think over 100, right?
Altogether so far, 300?
300.
Amazing. And what number were you?
Number 2. Wow. I'll tell you a little backstory on this. So in 2018, at August 21st or so of 2018 is when I contacted Josh. I was in a really dark place, meaning my father had passed away and my mother wasn't doing well health-wise. So I was taking care of her, doing the night shift, working the day shift. And when I had reached out and was looking, I got to do something different. How am I going to, help pay for all of this, taking care of my mom, this and that and the other? I reached out to Josh to talk about this opportunity, and just having the conversation with him and understanding the family and the background and what he's been through just kind of inspired me to say, okay, this is something I want to do, because, Josh told me his story and it was kind of similar to where I was and wanting to do something different, not given the opportunity to move forward. So when I talked to Josh, I said, okay, I think I want to do this. And part of this was the opportunity. It had an opportunity zone on one side. And so I'm getting educated on all this. So the opportunity zone was one aspect of it that I needed, because my father had passed away. My mother had gotten a good chunk of money. And I'm like, I don't want to pay taxes on it. So what do? Josh was able to help me. He's like, okay. So then I was able to use my self-directed IRA to do on the other side so I can move forward on that.
That is such a beautiful thing with opportunity zones. And, when people get involved in different syndications, they don't have the tax benefits that Josh offers with accountable equity with those taxes and being in opportunity zones. And Josh does such a great job. And just meeting him, there is no sales pitch with him. It is just a genuine man. He's a great family man. And you can tell right away the kind of work ethic he has and also the environment he creates. So when you invest with a lot of things, it can be kind of a cold investment. You're not really involved. But in hospitality and something like Renault and the other investments that are available with Josh, it's something that you don't just invest with passively, but you show up and have fun.
Oh, yeah.
And you're here today, Ketan, from the West Coast. So what are some of the things that you're doing here? Because you even said, when I retire, I'm just going to come back and work at Renault for Josh.
Well, you know what? That was part of that. Just to refer back on that story, it was, Scott Bindis. That's who I met. So I asked Josh, hey, who can I talk to make sure that this is real? And so I talked to Scott. Scott mentioned, hey, I've been down there. It's great. You need to come out here. Josh is a good person. So I took the plunge, invested, and then I think January or February of 2019, I came out here for the first time. And that's when that passion started. Like, wow, I walked in, they said, welcome home, and gave me a hard hat. And I'm like, my money's at work. Wow. I just didn't imagine that things would be going. There's construction, all the stuff that was given in the business plan was in action. And I got to see all of it. I got to see the operations. I got to see some of the training, meet the staff. So that's what got me excited to, brings me full forward that I want to be a part of this. I want to be part of this journey. And that helped. That very first time when I came here, I saw what Josh and Melanie were doing with the employee, just all aspects of the business, and said, I want to be a part of this, not just investing. If I could help in any way that, get others involved into this is great.
Yeah, I want to slow you down because, I'm over here. Melanie would be absolutely flattered that you guys are being so kind to us. That's not exactly how I thought this would go, but it's extremely honoring for both of you guys to be happy to be with us and to be part of things we're doing. It's a humbling thing. I want to go back also, though, and explain a few terms. Do you mind if for no listener left behind? So self-directed IRA was how we met, this concept of self-directed IRA. There's a business out there called Cayman Plan. How would you describe what a self-directed IRA is the way you and I mean it compared to what 99.9% of people in America think an IRA is? And self-directed usually just means I can choose this fund or that fund, doesn't it? On the internet, like a mutual fund. So how did you discover that there was something different? And what is that something different so they understand, first of all?
I was not a stock market guy. I hated looking at stocks just because I had no control over it. I couldn't see what was going on, understand why it was going up or down. So mutual funds the same way, when you're looking at your 401k. So I wanted a little more control of that. And that's when I, self-directed IRAs. You don't have to just invest in the stock market. There's so many wide variety notes, real estate, that's what attracted me, crypto, all of that. So it just kept going that there's other opportunities here. Your HSA, you can use all of that to be able to invest. So it just said, oh, if I just move it here, I have 4 or 5 different options that I can look at to invest in. And obviously I was looking at Josh, so real estate was the first part because I had interest in that. But it gave me options that I can invest that money somewhere else and have a little more control over what I invest in and how I invest in.
Yeah. And then you have a lot of W-2s that have 401ks and not just an IRA, but you can redirect a 401k as well, correct?
Yeah. So I moved multiple employees. So when I left Genentech to go to Salesforce, that Genentech money was just sitting in there in my 401k. So you can move that into that self-directed IRA. You can transfer that, the whole amount or as little as you want, and invest that.
That's a beautiful thing because a lot of people think that, they can just put their money in a wealth advisor or financial planner and they have to put all their trust in their retirement in that person. And there's lots of wonderful wealth advisors and financial planners. I'm not downplaying that, but they don't understand that they can actually use it as an alternative to invest in other really fun plays to make a lot more money and not have to trust in certain mutual funds or stocks.
Right. Well, I think you were asking, the purpose of me being here and coming back, because every time I come to Learn and Grow, I meet so many people. The networking, that part of it is just, this is my new family. It's my investment family. And all my investment since have been the folks that I've met with along the way. Wow. Matt Faircloth has taught me, on multifamily, MC on Be Your Own Bank. So I've graduated, Bob Wells, Financial Mastery. It opened my eyes to all this other opportunity and all these other investments. So I went from resorts to multifamily to ATMs, debt validation, all kinds of alternative investing just because looking at where I am in my life, cash flow, do I need a tax write-off? Just one step at a time as I was doing these investments, like, oh, I have to worry about this. But all along, I was getting this education from coming to Learn and Grow and meeting these folks and understanding what they're doing and how they're doing it. And why look at other operators when you have operators that you could trust, that you've worked with, that have a proven path? So instead of me doing it on my own, why not trust the people that I've met and I've understood and learned so much about? And not just on the investing side. We had Whitney Sewell, great at Kent. Man, it was awesome. Just the other aspects of it. He does real estate too, but just the family and the family board meetings, all of that, it's just the other side of it. So I'm always learning valuable lessons, not in investing and in life, that I can use right away. So that's the passion that you see or you hear, that I want to be at these meetings more and more, because that's what you get the value.
Geez, I can't get over it. I mean, it's almost an answer to prayer if you think about it, because when we're trying to do good things for people and we want to get people in our lives, obviously we have a project, we have an opportunity for people to invest. That's great. So does a lot of other people. But early on, Melanie actually clued me into how amazing it was to be able to interact with the families that entrusted some capital so that we could finish this business. And then we are excited. It's an exciting it's kind of a circle of goodness. You can't wait to do the distributions back to the families that helped you get started. And we can't wait for them to even have more growth. But again, really great definition of self-directed IRA. Best ever explained, really personal. Let's talk about the next thing. You've dropped some nuggets, as my buddy always says. You threw out things like, I'm in all kinds of things. And you threw out things that almost everybody driving started swerving. Oh, I bought some ATMs and I have fractured loans and I can buy. I didn't even know all the things you just said. So all of that fits into a category called alternative. And you're telling me that, like, after multifamily, people have heard of apartments. Okay, that's even cool. Oh, I could own part of an apartment. It feels like you had like an avalanche of new ideas over time. And now, why do you prefer to invest in, you just did oil even recently, didn't you?
Yep.
Why would you choose that instead of just Amazon stock?
Well, being a W-2, that's key right there. What I was doing, all the other investments that I was making, helped you on the passive. You get passive losses and you have active income,
People don't
right?
know
So
that.
the active
You got to go
income,
slow. That's big time
Right.
stuff you're saying, bro. You and I
passive
get excited about
losses and
that.
passive gains, right? So you start seeing that, you see the power of that. And now it's like, okay, but I'm still paying taxes because I'm working a W-2 job, right? So how do I get that W-2 tax side of it? So I started looking out there and oil was the way. So, doing some research that you get the working interest side of it. And if you put in 25,000 on 2 or 3 or 4 wells, obviously you do your due diligence and you want to get the operator and make sure there's not any middleman and you're getting the person that's in there. Almost 80% of that, 80, 85, depending on who you work with, you get that back as losses. Yeah. So write it off for your W-2. And so, it's just where I am in my career and my progression in investing is just the next step of that was, okay, I think I've got the other side handled with cash flow, with depreciation, with offsetting, with future, legacy projects like Renault. What about today? And that's the W-2 side.
And, with this alternative investing that you're doing when you have a mutual plan or stocks or whatever, you don't really get to go to these companies when you're doing these alternative investments, like with Accountable Equity here at Renault and Kent and LBI National, all these awesome places. And then you have it's funny, before we started recording, you were saying that you literally went to Texas to where you're investing in oil. And then you went to Austin where you're investing in a syndication, and you can actually touch, feel, smell. These things are real and you can actually see it and get excited about it. So explain some of the things you've done recently.
Yeah. And then going back to meeting with Josh here, just coming to see the property, actually physically seeing it, being part of it, understanding the business plan and seeing how it's being incorporated. So when we bought Kent, I'll give you an example today. I was able to go to LBI. It was my first time being there. It was so exciting. I loved it. Got a tour, walked around. So it makes a difference when you're able to see it, see some of the work that's going on there, and then just looking at the beautiful property. Josh does a great job. The team does a great job. But until you see it, you can't experience the beauty of it. The pictures and what you see on PowerPoints, they're very accurate, but it's a different picture when you see it live. Just like the oil wells, they open the little faucet and oil falls. And like, okay,
That is
after
pretty
it's
cool, actually.
you're drilling, they tell you all these steps that you have to go through and you're trusting it. But when you see that oil dripping down, you're like, okay, a month from now, I should be getting a distribution. So it's just, for me, it's honesty, it's trust. It's just that. So me seeing it just validates, the investment, validates the direction, validates the operator. It just brings a little comfort and also some satisfaction, of the due diligence and what you're doing and the operator that you're working with is doing and supporting, that investment.
Yeah. And we're going to jump ahead to another cool thing that you've taught me. First of all, thank you so much for being on the journey early. It's such an honor to have the people that were like the first few people that helped so many more people see that we could do this together, because none of it was going to work unless we kept growing. What an amazing
But you helped that.
thing.
That's
You
the
took
thing.
care of us. Thank you.
For 4 years. That's where my journey came. Fast forward today. It started with that first investment at Renault and then the path, and just the different events and the different folks that we've met.
Yeah. Good people, huh? We try to do that, right? You and I want to build a community, but we don't want to just build any old community. It's like we share a lot of these ideas publicly, folks, so that you can get a sense of who we all are. Don't you love Ketan? I do. Don't you understand that he's thoughtful? He cares. He has a family he loves. He cares about relationships, and he realizes that let's start with the relationship. Then we'll worry about if we're going to do business together. Anyway, that's the kind of people we're bringing into our life. You have Bob Wells, who's constantly giving us really good trainings, isn't he? They're really good. Okay, let me jump to the next cool thing. Not only have you been a wonderful teammate, investor, you've actually raised your hand years ago and said, I'd love to be supportive of the business. And everybody on that radio listening or on the podcast, this dude has undying gratitude. he raised his hand. He said, you guys are getting a lot of inquiries for new investors. Can I help you process them with Scott? Because Scott was working around the clock with us. And Ketan, again, like Scott also, thank you, Scott. I appreciate everything you've done. He raised his hands early on. He said, I'd like to help you build your company, basically. I'd like to be part of something like this so that when I'm done my career, I'm going to join you because we'll have built a big company. I'm like, really? You want to do that with me? This is like 4 years ago. I'm like, that's a deal. We shook our hands. I'm like, when you're done working your W-2 join us. And Ketan's like, I'm doing that too. I'm like, I love doing this so much. And thank you so much for working with us. You do it, you fit it in when it's convenient for you, and you take good care of the process. And I think we have some of the best investor relation care of any small syndication group. People tell me all the time how great you guys are at taking answers, getting back to them. I'm really honored at how much you've done for us. Thank you, Ketan.
No, it's been great. It's a great process. Scott, has done a great job, but working together, now we have some ideas to bounce off of various folks in the Met and Michael Truffle as well as part of the team now, but it's been great to help. It's a tremendous effort on all parts, but
yeah, it is.
We try
so
to
much
cover
effort.
each other. I'm on the West Coast, so it helps out with the East Coast. So now accountable equity can be, pretty much 24/7 to get folks covered, investors. So
Now we have to get some investors overseas so you can
we got
cover the
those
24.
too, trust
Oh,
me.
we do. We do. Okay. Amazing. What other investments are you currently looking at that you haven't dove into yet?
I would say the one thing before, I haven't done self-storage and I haven't done mobile home parks. So that's somewhere down the line, but oil's got me excited right now. So we'll see.
So it's fun. So I have done self-storage twice and oil's my neck and play.
Okay,
So we're
well, there we
on
go.
two different sides of the coin there.
I think it's been an honor to have you here, buddy. I love that you even brought out your lovely wife, Sneha. She came out here last year. She's a joy. And again, guys, you guys can't fathom how cool this community that Ketan helped me build is at Accountable Equity. The family, your family was in Texas. And we were, before this year, we were definitely putting a portfolio of acquisitions together for Texas, which is still on the horizon, but we found a bunch. Actually, your lovely wife introduced me one or two. And she goes, why don't we find this ranch or this beautiful property out in the hill country? I said, honestly, you're right. And she and I started researching. Then she was there and actually went on property site inspections for us. I mean, talk about, I don't know, it's a dynamic community, John. You can see why I love these guys. Tonight's going to be the best party we've ever put on. 100 plus of us investors, 1,000 people here to see Santa Claus. That's a little bit of a date stamp on this, meaning you're going to get this in the future, but we have it's so much
We get
good
to light the
energy, and I
trees.
appreciate you. Someone's going to help. They light the tree.
Yeah, Ketan, thank you so much for everything you've brought to this podcast today. Your energy, your knowledge, your wisdom, and just sharing it in such a humble way. I mean, that's something that came across to me. Like, you're not somebody and you've done a lot of big things, and literally there's no ego. And I appreciate that about you. And thank you so much. And tonight's going to be fun watching Josh try to hang around with 1,000 people. And I already heard his staff telling him his different routes around the property. So he has 2 VIPs dinners and then hundreds of other people coming to see Santa. So good luck, Josh. Do you have anything else to say?
Just an honor to work with you both. But Ketan, thank you so much for all you've built at Accountable Equity with us. We were talking about recently about the founder's plaque and putting it up. I have a mock-up of it. It's right here. Oh, it's right there on top of the picture. So it truly is an honor to be a co-founder with you, brother.
Pleasure was all mine. Thank you very much. Thank you both.
Thank you, buddy. We'll see you next time.
Damn straight. We just got
buddy.
We got to the end of another great show. And everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.